In this video, we're presenting the latest version of the April Hybrid Brewer. Welcome, my name is Patrick Rolf and this is Coffee with April. For this episode, we're going to reintroduce the April Hybrid Brewer. Those of you that followed us know that we launched a very limited amount of brewers for the world of coffee in Copenhagen earlier this summer. Since then, we've been perfecting, we've been tweaking, we've been designing, and we've been making a version of the April Brewer that we feel is even more April. So in this video, what we want to do is to walk you through the changes that we've done to the brewer and show you the current recipe that we are using when we're brewing it. Now, we, as you know, recently also launched a new paper filter together with Sibarist down in Barcelona in Spain. And this filter is made specifically for the hybrid brewer as well as the plastic brewer, but mainly and significantly for the April Hybrid Brewer, because what it does is that it makes sure that you get that perfect drawdown every single time, regardless of how long the steep time is of your full immersion brewer. Now, on traditional full immersion hybrid brewers that we see on the market, one of the challenges we have there is the drawdown that comes when you open up that valve, you let that water go through, it starts going through really quickly and then it slows down significantly in the end. And that sometimes can cause a little bit of a muddy character to the coffee. Now, with April Sibarist filter, we have none of that. The water goes through really easy, really simultaneously, regardless of how long you steep it. So that's one of the few improvements that we've done. Now with the brewer itself, so this is the first adaptation of the April glass brewer pretty much. So many years ago, we launched a flatbed glass brewer, pretty straightforward. And what we've done here is that we made a small adjustment just to allow it to kind of sink into the bottom part of the brewer a little bit easier. But apart from that, it's really the same model. So you are basically able to use the April paper filter and treat it very similar, for example, as with the glass brewer. Now, on the base itself, we have the classic April wings that helps us with that under and over pressure to make sure that we get a more dynamic flow rate and a flow rate that suits our lighter roast approach much better than any other version of the brewer. We've also readjusted the lever to make that a lot more sturdier, a lot heavier as well. So it's easier to use and we make sure that we have no challenges when we're opening and closing that valve more or less, right? So those are the main features. Obviously you see there's a design difference in color wise. Orange has been a color that's been with us from the very beginning here at April. So we thought it was really fun to launch it in an exclusive orange design. So that is what we're going to use moving forward as well, right? Now, more detailed into the actual recipe here. So first of all, we're brewing a washed processed geisha from a farm in Guatemala called El Socorro. And we're going to start by dosing it 15 grams of coffee. And we're going to run that to a total of 260 grams of water. Now, to the left here, we see the Sibarist April paper filter. And to the right, we see the classic larger April paper filter. Now, the first pour, and we're going to brew these identical. The first pour is going to be 100 gram. Circle and center pour as per traditional. So we're starting here with the 60 gram circle, going into a 40 gram center. And we're keeping the valve open here. And that's something that I've always done with this brewer. And that is because I believe we get more or a higher flavor quality coming out of it. I want that agitation in the first pour. I want to make sure we extract a lot of the coffee. And I believe that we get a higher flavor quality. So we're going to divide this into 3 simple pours. We're going to let that first pour sit for 40 seconds. Then we're closing the valve. And we're going to go up to another 100 gram pour. And we're doing this the same way. We're doing 60 gram in a circle and 40 gram in the center. Now, what's important here as well is to know that this coffee has been rested for 2+ weeks from roasting. And I say it is because it's important, because you might want to regulate the amount of time in between the first and the second pour, depending a little bit on how old that coffee is, right? So if it's a fresher coffee, you can let that sit for a little bit longer. Now at 120, I'm gonna open up the valve and I'm gonna do my pour up to 260. And then when I'm at 260, I'm closing the valve again. So again, 120, we're opening up the valve, I'm starting my pour, we're going up to 260, and then I'm gonna close the valve again. That simple, pretty much. Now what we're gonna do is, here is basically where we're gonna control that contact time, right? And we make sure that that extraction comes exactly the way that we want to. Now, keep in mind that the two different paper filters are gonna give you a slightly different drawdown. So everything that happens with the Sibarist X April paper filter is gonna go a lot faster. So that's basically one of the differences. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna open up the April brewer first with the April paper filter. We're gonna let that go through, and that's roughly at 2 minutes. And then around 2:30, we're gonna open up the April and Sibarist paper filter. And you're gonna see that that is gonna go through really, really quickly. So that brew time is basically gonna finish up more or less instantly when I'm opening up that valve, right? So we're gonna let both of these draw down completely, have some taste, and then we're gonna come right back with a few results and a bit of a conclusion. So a little bit of a breakdown here in terms of the results. So interesting to know here as well is that I've actually used the same grind size for both of these brew, right? And as you noticed, in the end of the brew, what I did was that I adjusted the strength or the total contact time by just changing where that valve opens throughout the brew time, right? So what happens here is that we're ending up with a slightly longer brew time with the normal April paper filter, just because that drawdown will take more time. It's still gonna go through very evenly, but it's a paper filter that is designed to be slower. Therefore, it's gonna take more time. Now with the Sibarist, again, the second you open that valve, it's just gonna go through. Naturally, it depends also on how much volume of water do you actually have in that filter. But we find that almost regardless of grind size, it's gonna go through really fast. So you never have to worry about that drawdown as being a challenge when you calculate that total brew time. Now, taste-wise, what's quite interesting is that they end up a little bit different. Obviously, same coffee, so you have some similarities. You have this kind of juiciness to it, candied citrus, a little bit of kind of fresh almond vibe to the coffee as well, which is really nice. What we see with the Sibarist X April is that we're ending up with a juicier cup, a little bit cleaner, lighter, more on that kind of tea side, whereas the April paper filter is bringing out a little bit more character, a little bit more complexity, sweetness, and body and structure to the coffee. So it really comes down to the preference that you guys are up or in for. But in general, again, both very kind of clean, bright, clear distinctions and the kind of attributes in the coffee, which is what we're really looking for here, right? Now, obviously, there's a lot of adaptations to these different recipes. We're gonna present a lot of them coming up over the next few months here. Obviously, as we see this brewer hitting different shelves and also coming home to you, we want to obviously see what you are up to and how you're brewing and not brewing, right? So with that, we just want to, as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you comment, make sure you share and subscribe, and all of this is always very helpful. Patreon, again, is where you hear all those new projects and kind of get the behind the scene content in terms of what we're up to, right? But yeah, we're really excited about launching this new edition of the Brewer, and we're looking forward to hearing your feedback of the April Hybrid Brewer as well. So again, we just want to thank you for watching and wish you a good day. We want to give a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to continue to make these videos. And we want you all to feel free to always come with suggestions and ideas on the content that you want to see, because we are doing this for you and because of you. Thank you from all of us here at April.